20, you got to know how it categorizes. You've got pay, promotion, working conditions, and you were very smart and you kept your 5 and you know that the 5 measures your dimensions well, and then you also asked 5 questions on job satisfaction. But when you put them together in a questionnaire and you say that questions 1 to 5 are pay, 6 to 10 are promotion, 11 to 15 are working conditions, 16 to 20 are job satisfaction, sometimes you don't know your subject to know what you're tapping into, and therefore you might feel, I need to mix bag this. Mix bag, put 1 pay, 1 promotion, 1 working conditions, then go back to pay, promotion, working conditions, pay, promotion, working conditions, and alternate your various items. Now, you could mix bag it, you could have 15 items there and 5 for your dependent variable, and then come to analysis and say, oh, which question was which? You forgot. Now, that's why at the point of constructing your questionnaire, categorize it. Know on a separate piece of paper, and I've just color-coded it there, that pay is green, and promotion on that color there, they call that gold, and working condition is purple, and dark green is job satisfaction. So just by looking at this, you know that question 1, question 4, question 7, question 10, question 13 are my pay questions. Question 2, question 5, question 8, 11 and 14, all the gold, are my promotion questions, and question 3, 6, 9, 12 and 15 are my working conditions questions, and if you've decided to put that group together, 16 to 20 are my job satisfaction. Whatever the case is, what I'm trying to show out here is always know how your items categorize or cluster together. If you've mixed bagged it, make sure on a separate page you have that question 1, 4, 7, 10 and 13 are paid. Otherwise, when you come to analysis, you're going to be totally confused because you have forgotten. So when we talk categorization, we mean that if you've mixed your items in your questionnaire, know how they cluster together, know how they come together. Don't forget it's going to affect your analysis. Okay?
And you've got to write about that in your analysis.
Yes, in your methodology, under the construction of the questionnaire, it's very important for your reader to know which items come together, cluster together, because even your external examiner is going to see a questionnaire with just numbers, and he's not going to know what is what. So he's got to know which items cluster together to give you a dimension. So you must report it in your methodology chapter as well. It also ensures replication. Suppose someone else comes when Sue has graduated and they want to replicate her study. So they decide and they ask her permission, can I use your questionnaire? And she says yes. Then they would be able to take that questionnaire and know exactly which items came to measure together to measure that dimension. So it ensures replication of a study. Question?
Okay, I am familiar with the difference in independent variables, but why we have courses have 5 questions for one single independent variable? For example, for payment, the independent variable, we have set 5 questions.
Minimum of 5 questions. You can go more if you want. You don't have to restrict yourself just to 5. On the other hand, it gives you a good impression, 5. But if you have something like that you really want to tap on over and above the 5, then you will definitely include it to 7. That means that is going to increase. It also means that when you categorize it, you're going to have more items under it. Okay? So it's a minimum of 5. Just to give you an idea, I know you're going to do this in your exercise. When you say 5 questions, what am I going to ask? Generally, you might say, are you happy with your pay? Again, that's not a good question because happy is ambiguous. Okay? Here you're going to tap into For example, to what extent do you find that your pay is market related? Okay. To what extent do you believe that your organization ensures that rewards are fair? To what extent do you believe that you are paid equivalent to the effort that you exert? To what extent do you believe that a pay is equivalent amongst different workers with the same amount of workload? Okay, so you're going to create 5 very relevant items. Of course, it's going to come from reading. You're not going to thumbs up like I did quickly now, jot it down and say my quiz today is done. That's not going to happen. I just quickly thought of different things that you can tap into. So that's how you're going to create 5 items, so you delve deeper into your variable.
So are you asking questions about pay alone, or are you asking about how pay affects job satisfaction?
Well, eventually we're going to correlate it, right? You could also create items such that they immediately tap into pay and job satisfaction, but it's quite fine if you're going to be doing a correlation to look at the happiness with pay itself and then to correlate it with their current level of job satisfaction. Again, it depends on your objective of your study. But remember that if you're tapping into those items of pay, they are implying satisfied or not satisfied. All right. So categorization simply means.
Is it possible to categorize this spread on our question, like when we design our question?
No, the purpose of hiding it, the purpose of putting the mixed bag is because you didn't want your subject to know which ones are coming together. So you're not going to write pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you're not going to write pay question 1, 4, 7. It's going to sequentially go 1 to 20, but you're going to, as the researcher and supervisor, know that this is how we mixed it. So this is how we're going to categorize it. You're not going to put it in your questionnaire because you split it in your questionnaire because you didn't want your subject to know how they come together.
But my question is, does that have any implication? What is the reason behind it?
The reason behind it is, you see, sometimes when people see the item pay and then they see 1 to 5 is relating to pay, and they say, oh, this place, they just don't pay me right. And immediately you're going to get this, because they read pay, you know, and immediately they're going to get a negative impression. So you're creating that emotion already. When someone reads pay, they're never going to be happy, right? No matter where you are. So immediately you're giving the sense that people are going to be triggered into emotion and they're going to give an emotional response. Only if you feel that that's going to happen. If you feel, no, in my organization, it's fine for me to know that we're measuring pay, you don't have to categorize them. You can put it 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, okay? But if you feel that this particular item is going to be triggering an emotional response, let me hide it, then you can. Remember, we don't use deception in research, but this is just a strategy. It's not deception. It's just a strategy to collect valid information, okay? So that is categorization. Question?
With regards to categorization, could you use an alignment matrix where you take the questions and you break it down to which areas of the variables it's measuring, which research questions it's looking at, as how you've done here? Would you add that into your methodology chapter as an appendix for the reader to know?
No, you're saying would I include this in my methodology that I did it this way? Is that what you're saying?
Would you, in general, if you have a matrix where you can pour down for the reader to know, okay, these questions 1 to 5 deal with these particular areas.
Yes. Oh, no, that's almost a must. It ties up with what the previous speaker asked. You've got to say it in your methodology that these particular items come together to measure that. You've got to, because it allows for the reader to know which items came together. It also allows for replication of the study. So if someone else is doing the study, they know that if I use this questionnaire 1 to 5 or 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, are going to measure pay and job satisfaction. So you're going to indicate it in your study. It's almost a must.
So like, wouldn't that come in your findings and analysis, what you just mentioned? Like, for example, if 1 to 5 answers research question number 1, you break it up in your analysis. I am dealing with research question number 1 and these items tended to it. So instead of putting it in your research methodology.
Well, you could bring it again in your analysis, but it certainly goes into your methodology.
So you're saying it has to be in your methodology?
It has to be in your methodology because it's describing the construction of your questionnaire. Okay, it must be in your methodology. Anybody would look for it there. Anybody using the questionnaire would look for it there. And then, of course, the deeper analysis that you are talking about in your analysis chapter is now looking deeper into those items, and therefore you bring it in there. But if someone wants to use your questionnaire, the guide of how to use it will come in your methodology chapter. All right, that covered then categorization under measurement. The next one being coding, which we have done already. We've so far, you've noticed I've got this habit of constantly categorizing it into nominal data, but I'm just going to take it a step further now. When we talk about coding, we mean that every questionnaire next to its categorization must have a pre-coding. So these are only identification numbers that you will capture. So if we're talking about age 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, and 60, pre-coded. Because when you capture that data in your spreadsheet under age, under the third column there, you're not going to put in age, the first person, 30 to 39 years. You're not going to write 30 to 39. You are going to capture 2. That's the pre-coding. So it makes your capturing process much easier when it's pre-coded. You don't have to go and say 1, 2, then put in the 2. It's already pre-coded for you. So your capturing becomes much easier. Okay? Also, your other variable, like on the spreadsheet, I had gender. Gender again, pre-categorize it. Okay? Pre-code it and pre-categorize it. Divide it into what is relevant. Okay? Male, female. If you're doing a study on homosexuals, for example, use your appropriate subcategorization. All right? However is appropriate for that study. Do the appropriate subcategorization. Okay? Now these codings have no meaning. We're not saying males are 1 because they're first class. We'll get the female opinion on that. We are simply using it for identification. So we go 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay? It's only for the purpose of identification. So we pre-code everything. The important part to note is that when you pre-code, don't continue with the numbering. Don't call male 1, female 2, and then when it comes to age 20 to 29 years, start with 3. Don't do that. Okay? You restart your numbering from 1 again. And so you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you start 1 again. Each time you pre-code, you start from 1 again. Are there any questions?
Sort of slightly related. Numbering your questionnaire questions. I've seen questionnaires with sort of section A and then they start from question 1, and then section B and they start from question 1.
Yes.
Is that a good idea, or can you get
No, it's a good idea.
in knots?
No, it's a good.
When you're analyzing all the question 1.
No, it's a good idea because what happens is if you divided it into sections, you're going to call it A and you're going to call it B, right? Or C if you even have a C. What happens when you're capturing, you always put, because this was straightforward, I just called it Q1, Q2 in my spreadsheet, right? Q3, you will call it A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4. You will always put that initial in front, okay? So you know which one is coming in. The reason why you're going to get into the habit of putting an initial in front, remember the rest of our questionnaire is always coded. Whether we use the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whether we use the nominal and we coded it correlate with that, it's going to pick that number on the top, and your mean is going to get affected. Okay? So it's very important to put those letters in the front as A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, but you always start with the 1 again. Right? So that's the categorization and that's the coding. Any questions so far? Categorization in a nutshell, if we've mixed bag of items, we must know how they categorize, we must write it on a separate page so we can report it in our research methodology chapter, and when you do your analysis, you know what you're analyzing. Coding is the pre-coding that we do. We always code our items in the questionnaire before it goes out. So when you come back, it's already coded for you, and you can capture it very easily. There is also the aspect of post-coding, and I will come to that post-coding when we have our open-ended question. It applies there. Okay? The next principle of measurement, and a very important one, is scales and scaling. Question?
Just to get some clarity in terms of the pre-coding, do you also do those changes when you're looking at the negative and the positive questions?
No.
In this?
No, it doesn't apply here because there's no reverse here. This is factual information. As the person gives it, that's what you will capture. You won't turn any scales. Okay? So the reverse, turning scale questions, the reverse items don't apply here. Okay? They apply in your Likert scale, your 1 to 5 point scale, when you ask positive questions, negative questions, positive questions, then only. You will never turn scales in nominal because these have no value. They're only there for the purpose of identifying. So we know that all people between 20 to 29 are given ones for the purpose of identification. It has no value in terms of strength. We can't say that the 3s there are better than the 1s. Okay? It has no value in terms of age itself. It's just for identification. So we don't turn the scale. Coming to scales, this is the part that ties your questionnaire closer to analysis. And this is why I say that the questionnaire design cannot be separated from analysis. To make you understand this section, I'm going to have to go back to a little bit of basics, which you probably already know, okay? But I'm going to cover anyway, just so that we all are on the same point. It has the characteristics of distinguishability or identification. It has no meaning. It doesn't mean to say if you 1, you're less of a gender, then if you 2, you're more of a gender. Nothing. Okay? It only has the characteristic of identification. Now that is a very basic analysis. All that can give you is frequencies. How many males we got, how many females we got. All that can allow you to do is convert it into percentage. What percentage of our sample are males? What percentage of our sample are females? All it will allow you to do is then put a pretty pie graph and indicate what proportion of that pie are males and what proportions are females. The most basic level of analysis. And why you need to note that is that that most basic level of analysis means that if your questionnaire is only on a nominal scale, you can only do basic analysis. Okay? So if you are looking at a questionnaire or a study that has deeper analysis, it means you can't sit and your questionnaire being designed at a nominal scale. You need to progress. Okay? And the way to progress is perhaps you could use an ordinal scale which has the distinguishability, it has the characteristic of identification. It is on the slide and you will get it emailed to you, but it also has the opportunity to rank order. Now rank order is easy. It's first, second and third in a race, for example. Who comes in first has the benefit of finishing time. Who comes in second has a little longer finishing time. Who comes in third has has a longer finishing time, meaning that finishing time now, which is what we do in a race, which is what we assess in a race, finishing time now, that dimension that you are assessing now has some meaning. It's not there only for the purpose of identification, it also has ranking. So finishing time meaning the person sitting first finished the best, the person second finished a little worse, and the person third finished the worst of the three compared to all those who still left behind. So that now, that figure of 1, 2, 3 now has a little more meaning. An ordinal scale is a ranking in the questionnaire. So rank the extent to which you believe these characteristics exist in your job. Skills variety, feedback, task significance, task variety. Okay? You're now telling a person to rank. It's going to allow you to do a little bit more analysis. May not be enough if you are really looking at a study that's going to cover deep analysis. But it does more than your nominal scale.
Can you show us how to code a rank of 3 people?
Yeah. Should I do it? Yeah, I could do it now. Okay, you're going to give a very clear instruction, right? You're going to tell the person to rank order the following job characteristics to indicate how important they are. Okay, I am engaging my students in writing short like this. How important they are to you in your job. Scale below. Equal intervals between consecutive numbers. We say that because when you have a 1, 2, hopefully I'm going to try and make it equal, 3, 4, 5 point scale, the distance between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 5 are equal. That means now they're comparable. And we know that when we go from strongly disagree to neutral, neither agree nor disagree, to agree to strongly agree, we're taking on more of that characteristic that we measure. So yes, we have numbers to identify. Identification, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have rank ordering that as we're moving there, we're getting more positive on the issue that we are measuring. And we also have equal intervals between consecutive numbering. Okay? But what don't we have here?